Hi, it's Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky. I'm back this week with my Pans and Plans. Well, communities across the country, ours is no exception, are mobilizing to address the crisis of gun violence. And I met with a group from Highland Park that came just about a week after the mass shooting, and they have formed an organization really overnight that wants to stop, to put a ban on assault weapons. That is their mission. All of the people that I met with had been at the parade. And I think it's important to understand that in addition to the horror of the deaths that occurred and the injuries that occurred, that people who were there and saw it are also feeling the anxiety, the trauma of having been there, along with their children. And we heard stories about the fear that their children have, and they are determined to do something about it. And then the next day, last Wednesday, there was a march of some 300 people who had come from the Highland Park area to protest. This weekend, I was in Glenview at an event that was organized by high school students, mostly Glenbrook South, that also was focusing on an assault weapons ban. And they had people from March for Our Lives, a group from the city of Chicago, because we can't forget that many people died, not only on the 4th of July weekend, but pretty much every day in places in Chicago, not assault weapons, but other kinds of deadly weapons that we have to deal with. The hopeful news is that this week, in the United States House of Representatives, in the Judiciary Committee, there will be a vote to ban assault weapons. And that vote, which I feel quite sure will pass in the committee, will then go next week, I hope, to the floor of the House of Representatives, and at least the House will be able to declare a ban on assault weapons. So this would be incredible, incredible progress. And I know that the majority of Americans want to see that. They don't want to see these weapons of mass destruction, these military weapons on the street. Just a few more facts on guns that I may not have told you about. If you look at countries like Japan, you know, they just saw the murder of a former prime minister, right? You know how many people were killed in Japan last year by guns? 10. 10. In the United States of America, how many people died at the hands of guns? 40,500. We are the only country that sees that kind of slaughter because of guns. What's the matter with us? It's time for us to take action. Most Americans think that that is the case. So we are absolutely moving ahead. Back to the ongoing tragedy of the Supreme Court decision on abortion. You know, on Friday, the House passed two very important bills. Once again, we passed the Women's Health Protection Act. This is a bill that we had passed before, but we wanted to make the point. It got very little press the last time. We want to make the point that for the first time in history, one branch at least of the Congress, the House of Representatives, has codified Roe v. Wade to be the law of the land. Zero number of Republicans actually voted with us to reestablish the bodily autonomy that women have, and to reestablish a right. The first time a major right in the United States of America has been overturned, We wanted to reestablish it in the House, and we did. But the second bill, and I spoke to it on the floor of the House, would affirm the right of people, women especially, to travel from state to state in these United States of America, and not be prohibited by laws in certain states that said you can't leave the state in order to get an abortion. That doctors, they want to make doctors in other states criminally liable if they should give an abortion for someone from out of state, and to really limit the travel of people across state lines. You know, this is in the Commerce Clause of the Constitution of the United States, the right to travel. So both bills passed, the right to travel and the right to have an abortion in the House of Representatives. Now they go once again to the Senate, where of course we have the problem of the filibuster. But I think it's important anyway that a vote be taken so that we know who's with us and who's against us, and that information can be taken to the ballot box when you decide who you vote for. You're for women's rights, for the rights of all Americans to travel or not. You know, I also participated in a press conference yesterday on what we call the Judiciary Act. This is a piece of legislation that would say that we have to rebalance this, what I call rogue, really illegitimate Supreme Court, and allow for additional members to the Supreme Court of the United States. This is not a new idea. The idea of 9 members of the Supreme Court is not something that has been the rule throughout the history of the United States. We could do this. It is legal. It could be done by the Congress. In this press conference, I pointed out that Mitch McConnell, in the 4 years that he was the head of the Senate, that's during the Trump administration, he abandoned the filibuster in order to not only appoint members, help get members of the Supreme Court ratified, but 200 right-wing judges were appointed. Let's remember that 3 of the current Supreme Court justices were appointments of Donald Trump. And let's remember that Coney Barrett was appointed while the election was underway, and millions of Americans had already voted when she was sworn in as a member of the Supreme Court of the United States. And so we need to do something about it, because this court is taking away not only our fundamental right to control our own bodies and make decisions about our families, but also you saw the Supreme Court made a decision to limit the rights of the Environmental Protection Agency. So our environment is at stake. This is really existential, these issues. And so I was an early supporter of the legislation, the Judiciary bill, to expand the court. And now there are many more members who are signing on, and hopefully we're going to be able to get it done. Today there's going to be a vote on the Respect for Marriage Act. Now, you know, at some point the Supreme Court did say that same-sex marriage was the law of the land, but on the books there still exists a law called the Defense of Marriage Act, which says it's one man and one woman. That's all that is defining marriage. And so it is very important that we get that done and establish within the law in the Congress of the United States, as well as in the courts, that same-sex marriage is the law of the land, no exceptions. Last week there was a vote on the National Defense Authorization Act, which is really the funding for the military, and some other things. But I voted against that legislation because we saw that there was a historic increase in the amount of money that we give to the Defense Department. $70 billion increase. I thought that was far too much money, that we do spend too much money, a lot of it wasted. It's $40 billion more than what the President of the United States asked for in his budget. And so I voted for amendments that would cut the defense budget. Unfortunately, those amendments did not pass. And though I felt the overriding issue was compelling enough for me to vote against the NDAA, I did support some of the things that are in there. It actually included an amendment that I added that said that military contractors who do not go against union organizing would have a preference, along with like small businesses and veterans, if they didn't intervene in labor contracts. That bill did pass, and it is in the NDAA now. There was also a 4.6% increase in the salary for active military and for the civilians that work in the military. Happy to see that increase. It also established that there's a $15 minimum wage for the various companies that do business with the military and get a military contract for their employees. So there are some important things that were in the legislation, but we need to begin to reduce the amount that we spend just on the military hardware. So as usual, I want to end with COVID, and it's not good news on COVID. Now we have that in Cook County, where we were seeing numbers go down at the high level. In the state of Illinois, 33,066 new cases just in this last week, and 59 additional deaths. So the numbers are going up. And now the federal health authorities are saying you ought to consider getting tested before you go to a large gathering, especially an indoor gathering. We certainly want to encourage people still who have not been vaccinated to get that, and encourage people to take the precautions, to wear a mask when you're going to be at some length indoors. Very, very important. We're not really seeing that happen enough, and we're seeing those numbers going up. So please be careful, and I will see you next week. Take care. Hi, it's Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky. This is a recording that we're doing after the morning pans and plans that I just recorded today. I just came back from a civil disobedience demonstration. In other words, I just came back from being arrested. And it was about abortion. We went in front of the Supreme Court, probably some 100, I don't know how many at the end there were, but at least 24 of us members of Congress, to make a strong statement. And the statement that we were chanting was, "We will not go back. we will not go back. And I was there for my granddaughters. I mean, really, do you think that they should be deprived of rights that I've had? I've been there before Roe, fighting to make, and seeing women who were so desperate. I was there after Roe, trying to prevent states from making it harder for women even to access abortions. And now that Roe in so many places has absolutely been obliterated. I also was at a hearing this morning over the Oversight Committee, and the president of the American Medical Association was there talking about the chaos for doctors right now who don't know. Can you really, how much blood has to flow before you can actually try and save somebody's life? These are the kinds of things that lawyers get into now too. Telling people in the emergency room, be careful. It is so chaotic, frightening, wrong out there that I was really proud to join in the civil disobedience effort to make the case that we are not going to stop fighting. We literally are not going to go back. So this is an issue that needs to be on the ballot in November. And when we win in the Senate and in the House, which this week, of course, passed ratifying Roe v. Wade, we can change this, and we will not go back. Thank you for watching my video. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where my handle is @Jan Schakowsky.